Welcome to Zimmerman Podcast, episode 61. Today, I'm sitting down with real Zimmerman student Carrie Black. Carrie is a floral designer who spent months taking my webinars and smaller classes until she dove in and bought The Power of Pinning. Carrie's been where so many of us have been before, strapped for cash and struggling to find a surefire way to market our business when we don't have any extra money to spend on something that won't work. That's where the power of pinning comes in. Once Carrie heard about how Pinterest was working as a marketing tool for us over at Zimmerman, she knew it was the best money she could spend on her business. Carrie did the work and continues to do the work, and she even got her first $20,000 floral budget inquiry directly from a pin on Pinterest. Y'all have got to hear her story. All right, you ready? Let's do it.
Welcome to the Zimmerman Podcast with your host, CEO, wedding professional, educator, and mom, Jessica Zimmerman. In just 2 years, Jessica went from facing bankruptcy to taking home a six-figure salary. She turned a business-saving $100,000 loan into a $1 million empire. As a creative entrepreneur, a healthy work-life balance seems just as unattainable as a six-figure income. But Jessica Zimmerman is here to show you it's possible. With the right tools and insider tips and some hard work, your craziest dreams can become your daily routine. If you set some boundaries and commit to healthy changes, you can create a business and a life you love. So let's make your business work for you.
Hi, Carrie. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jessica, for having me.
This is going to be really fun. Okay, so tell us just a little bit about yourself, what you do, and just let us know, like, what brought you, because you're a Zimmerman student, so what kind of led you our way?
Yes. Well, honestly, I got to say, I'm a floral designer. And after having my two babies, they made me so much braver. I think it was just becoming a mom. And I have just loved design my whole life. So after I had my babies, I just took a leap of faith and I'd been praying, for God to give me guidance. Like, what do I do? Because I knew I wanted to be a mom, but I knew there was something else for me. And so basically, floral design came to me and I just went for it. So I got my business license, I just started doing all the steps. But during that time, it was actually probably the hardest time. My marriage ended. And during those dark days, I just kept on moving and just making sure I was just taking care of my babies and just really focusing on my company. And that's when I found you on Instagram. And that's when I saw the business behind the blooms and you were holding the dahlias. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to figure out what she's offering because I need to know the business behind the blooms. And that's where it all started for me.
Oh, that's so good. Well, okay, so I'm so glad. So you started with Business Behind the Blooms.
Well, actually, I started that later. I wasn't able to take your Business Behind the Blooms course at that time, but I just started to kind of figure out what you were offering. And I took every webinar you offered, and I just loved your story because you shared how you started. And, it's not easy. Sometimes, and I don't have a business background. So
No, it is not easy. It is not easy.
no. And half the time I'm like, what am I doing? Am I doing this right? Am I taking all the steps? And sometimes you're at a loss, like, which way do I go first? And so, right. And so as I took your webinars, I just loved you. I'm like, this woman is awesome. You just were really, really truthful, very real. And I love how you shared with your students your beginning and all the things that you didn't want us to do. And you knew all the steps to make it easier for us to start. And so you kind of just gave me homework. Every webinar, I would just say, okay, I've got some stuff to do. I'm going to do it.
Oh, good. I love that so much. Goodness. And, I think it happens all the time. Like no matter what you do that's new or something, there's so much that you mess up on and you learn
Yep.
along the way. And you definitely wish, sometimes that there was someone to hold your hand or to just go, hey, I know you're trying to decide between like these three things. This one's the best option.
Right.
I know even just for me right now with the book, it was, I guess, almost this time last year, just going through the process of publishing it. And then now having to completely change a promotional plan, in the pandemic and everything. Like there's so many things that I every day wake up frustrated about and go, oh, I just wish I knew if it should be this or this. You just,
Yeah,
you kind of go into it blind until someone kind of can help share the way. So I'm
absolutely.
just so glad that you found those webinars helpful. So
Yeah.
but we are here today to talk about Pinterest and the power of pinning. And I have to tell you, the power of pinning for me, and I know I've said it before, but it was nothing that I ever intended on doing. I was just going to hire my Pinterest manager and that be it. But I had students that kept saying, "Tell me how you're doing this, tell me how you're doing this," or they would say, "How are you getting these clients?" And when I would say Pinterest, and then I was like, "But I don't know how to tell you about it because I hired someone to do it." Like,
Right.
it just was never something I intended on sharing, but the demand was there, and so Catherine and I, who's my Pinterest manager, got together and we did the power of pinning, and those initial students, they wanted it and they got it and they're doing well because of it. But now I find that it's hard to kind of share about it because no one really cares. Like, no one wants to, talk about Pinterest in the way that it was really designed to help you. And so, what was it for you that made you go, "Oh, okay, I need the power of pinning and this is gonna work?"
Well, I thought it was pretty interesting because for me, originally it was just like Play-Doh recipes and dinner recipes, for my kids and for me. So I thought it was just a visual kind of go-to for ideas. I had no idea what it offered from a business level or standpoint. And after, watching your webinar about, your course, it was basically exactly where we need to be in the industry, from my floral industry, to put yourself in front of brides. And what Pinterest actually does, it's connecting you to your website and all these different things I had no idea that Pinterest offered.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It
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 is.
really is. It's unbelievable, and I think every time I teach about it, I actually have someone on my team who I taught a webinar not too long ago called "What to Do When You're Losing Money," and I teach a little bit about Pinterest in that, and she said to me, "I think you're a little" okay, don't take this the wrong way. How do I say it? "I think you're coming off a little aggressive," and I just was
Right.
like, "I appreciate it, but I would prefer to think passionate because
Right.
I am." I feel like if I just say, "Hey, yeah, Pinterest works," like, no one's gonna listen. But if I'm like, "If you don't pay attention now, you're gonna get left behind," because it really is the truth. And so it just was funny because she was like, "I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but it's a little aggressive." And I was like, you might be right." But
Well, it is exciting. It is because I think it's just so much more than we know until we take the course and we're like, oh my gosh, wow. And
mhm.
you see the results right away.
It's crazy. What did you like about the program? Like, what about the program made you go, "Oh, this is doable and I like it?" Because I've taken Pinterest programs before and I got through about 5 minutes of it before it was like, "What a waste of money. I'm never looking at this again. It's way too confusing."
Well, I share in that. Just taking a course sometimes I can't. I'm just like, okay, I'm losing my focus and it's just
Mhm.
too difficult, too analytic, and I can't do it either. Catherine's voice is so calming, and I love how it's organized in modules. So you start from the beginning, and I think that's what you always focus on is making sure we have a good foundation. And I think that's what it does. It gives you the good foundation, how to set up your Pinterest account first. And I think that's something we don't really know. Like I think, okay, I'm gonna, add a pin. Well, you got to set up, you have to put your photo on there. You have to have perfect description words, for your page. So, and it links to your website. And so I think that was exciting for me to know, like, okay, I did this the right way from the gate, and now I can kind of build on my site.
Yeah. Were you skeptical at first? Did you think, I don't know if this will really
Yeah,
work, but I'll give it a shot?"
well, you just don't know. Yeah, and I just said, "Okay," and I don't think until you really get into something and you get the knowledge, you don't really know. And so I think as I started learning more about it, it just the light bulb moments went off where I'm like, "Okay, like now I get it. Like this is gonna
Right.
work, right?" And right away, Jessica, I think I had like 26 views because I wasn't really using it for anything.
Sure.
And right? Okay, so I set it up for my business, and right away just setting it up correctly, I think it just went to around 1,000. And so it was kind of like a little incentive, like, hey, like even just doing this small step really kind of got me on the board to kind of move this thing along. So I really love that.
Definitely. Why do you think it's hard for people to change their impression on what Pinterest is?
Well, I think it's just, looking at it from a visual perspective and then kind of not being able to, you're separating it from business. For me, I just didn't know that you could really represent your company and your business and what you can offer. So I think until you take the course, until it makes sense, it's like you're just missing out because this whole platform is exactly where we need to be. Because that's where I went when we got married. You're looking for shoes, wedding dresses, florals. That's where you go. And so to know that, oh my gosh, my pins can be, seen in front of all these brides was like so exciting where I'm like, okay, this is it. Because for me, I didn't have the finances to put towards, different marketing and publications, that may or may not work. I didn't have the luxury to make those mistakes. So it just seemed like a no brainer. Like this is going to work.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't. I just it does. It's like you said, you don't until you know better, you don't do better. But once you know better, it's like, oh yeah, why wasn't I doing this all along? It makes perfect sense.
Right.
How would you describe your marketing plan before you took Power of Pinning?
I didn't have one. Basically, it was non-existent, Jessica. I basically thought Instagram was it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make an amazing Instagram page. I'll make it beautiful, and there we go. I'm done. Or not necessarily, but like thinking like the publications and all those advertising things were gonna come later. Like, okay, I'll find something I love later. Like I'm just gonna start at Instagram, but later do I, figure out that actually wasn't necessarily the platform that was going to get me exposure whatsoever. So that's kind of like I didn't have a plan, really, honestly.
Right. And I think too, honestly, when you've got young kids like you do and you've got other things on your mind and you have other places you want to spend your dollars, if I'm being really honest. And I think as much as I say it and I preach it, I still sometimes have moments where I go, "Ugh, I don't know, I just rather would spend this money on my family or go do this
Right.
with my family or do something," even though I know it's so important to invest in your business. And I believe that I do that. But I think that, I've kind of always come from the standpoint of I'm always going to bet on myself. Like I am my best lottery ticket because if no one else shows up, I know at least I'm going to show up and do the work. So I'm okay kind of doing that and spending that money, but I understand that a lot of people aren't. And it's like, oh, we only have this much profit and I need to kind of hang on to that or give that to my family or whatever. And I think the beautiful thing about the power of pinning, I understand that it's still money, but you can get it on a payment plan and it's not near as expensive as a lot of programs. But once you've done it, because it's a 14-day program, and at the end of 14 days, like you don't just have the information, you've done it. You've set it up, it's ready to go. And so I love that about it. But then it's free. You know what I mean? Like then it's free. Pinterest is free if you know how to do it. And unlike a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad or an ad in a magazine or whatever, Pinterest is free. You just have to know how to set it up. And so that's what the power of pinning really is.
And it is, and it's an amazing course. And I love how, we learn the course, we learn how to set it up, we learn all about the different pins. But I love that you and Catherine explain 5 minutes a day. So once you're all set up, all you have to do is spend 5 minutes a day on Pinterest and you're good. And I love how you also explained that it's working behind the scenes. And I love that. Like when I'm working or I'm out with my kids or I put in the time, it's still working for me. It's still there in Pinterest working for me as brides are, searching for these things. So I love that.
If you're feeling lost and confused when it comes to doing business online and you feel like selling online is working for everyone but you need the Zimmerman Toolkit to standing out online. Selling your stuff becomes simple when you have someone telling you exactly what you need to do. Turns out, the secret to standing out and selling stuff online can be broken down into a few easy to follow steps. Once you know the steps, there's no limit to what you can sell or the impact you can have online. When it comes to online business, if you're having trouble selling, you've got one of two problems. Number one, people aren't finding you. You can't buy what you can't find. Or number two, when they do find you, you're not standing out. Learn how to create a love at first sight connection with your future clients. I've created a 3-day training to help you get seen online and run the online business you've always wanted but haven't yet been able to achieve. You'll walk away from this training with more than just a game plan. You'll have templates, presets, video tutorials, checklists, and even the mindset you need to make this your best business year yet. The best time to start is yesterday. So let's get going. To sign up for this training, go to zimmermanpodcast.com/toolkit. That's zimmermanpodcast.com/TOOLKIT. My great uncle, who is no longer with us, but he lived in Seattle, and he did construction and all of that kind of stuff. And I've told stories before about him and how I went to visit him before I bought a Southern Tradition, and how I was like, "What? I mean, this is a lot of money. Like, what if I fail?" And he was like, "Well, then you go back to living the way you're living now, which." You seem to be fine, like you don't hate it. He's given me pieces of advice along the way that have been really good. But one of the things he said to me one time, and I thought, oh, that is so true. This is when I was in my early 20s. He said, I was building houses and everything. And then I thought, I want to figure out a way to make money in my sleep. I want to figure out a way for my bank account to fill up while I'm sleeping. And I was like, okay. And so he got into and started building storage units. And that is so smart. It was so smart of him because he already had the tools to literally and
Yeah.
figuratively, to build these houses. Like, why not take that into more commercial stuff like storage units? And then you really are just making money in your sleep. It's not a one-time sell. And that's really what the power of pinning is. It's like, here's all the tools, and now someone can work for you behind the scenes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they can bring you clients. And we have a webinar called 5 minutes a day to 5 years of clients, and it's so true. I mean, there's a pin that I pinned 3 years ago that I still get inquiries from. And so it really does work. You just have to know how to do it, which the power of pinning explains. Have you found that you've seen a growth in your website views and your I hate that word, inquiries?
I
I
know.
can never say it right.
It's hard to say. Yes, Jessica. Okay, so you always talk about SEO, SEO, SEO. Okay, so my website, and I think sometimes when you start something, it kind of snowballs to like really like do something else the right way. So, for instance, once I started seeing, really putting my page together on Pinterest and doing it the right way, I went to the analytics, which I love because you can always check and see how you're doing and which pins are doing good. But I saw how many clicks were to my website. And I think when I first started, there was like 400. And I'm like, what? Like for me, that was amazing. And that's what you want. You want exposure for people coming over and seeing, stopping by and seeing who you are. And then honestly, I got a 20,000 floral budget from a pin from just starting Pinterest, and it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and I couldn't be more excited. It was fantastic. And, it was a client that loved my work, and she felt that I was a good fit just from what I put out there. And here I am thinking like, oh, I don't know, my page looks okay, because I think in time you're able to kind of like put more content and things that you love as, you progress. But yeah, I mean, what I put out there, I found a client with a 20,000, floral budget, and it blew me away. I said, oh my gosh, like this thing is really working.
Oh, that's incredible. I love to hear stories like that. And the thing is you're not the only one. Like other people who take this program and who implement it and actually do it, like they see these kinds of results. It's really, really amazing. And even just for someone like me, like I, have that resource hub that I made in 2018. Now we update it every year, of course. We update things, but the bulk of that work was done 2 years ago, and we pin those, and every month we get sales from that because we've pinned them. You know what I mean? It's just like so.
I've seen your pins and I'm like, "Oh, cool. I'll take that." Like I've seen like, "Oh, hey, email templates." When I'm working on my page, I'll see Jessica Zimmerman. I'm like, "Oh, a new resource," And so I've actually purchased your business tools from just being on Pinterest, working on my Pinterest.
That's incredible. Yeah, and so I think I only share that because I want people to know, like, this isn't just, "Oh, well, the floral industry is beautiful, and so there's beautiful pictures of flowers, and so that works." I mean, I'm selling like a setup and delivery Excel spreadsheet. You know what I mean? And,
Right.
like, so you can sell a service, you can sell a local service, you can sell product, I mean, you can sell everything on Pinterest, you really can, and the more traffic that you get to your website, the more that your business is gonna grow, and it might be a slow growth at first, but then you just never know where that's gonna go. Like, you might get 50,000 views to your website for a couple of months and not get any inquiries, but you have no idea what's happening there, like, that other people might have been telling someone else that they know that's getting married about you.
Yeah, it only takes like that one person because I really feel like it kind of starts with, the whole thing's working and then it just takes one person or one client to kind of get you going in the right direction.
And I'm just such a big believer, you've heard me say this a million times, but in utilizing a slow season. And right now, as we're recording it, we are still in the pandemic, and there's just no excuse, in my opinion. Like,
Right.
we have got so much time. And if we want to come out of this with, money in the bank at the end of the year, then we have to get on this. Like, we have got to get our Pinterest set up and get our services and our products pinned so that we can start making money, because there has never been a time ever in the history of ever that
Ever.
everyone is purchasing online. Everyone is purchasing online, and you gotta get in front of those people, and we show you how to do that with the power of pinning. And it doesn't matter. I live in Conway, Arkansas, in a small town. Like, you live in San Diego, which is a bigger city, but it doesn't matter. You can live wherever and do whatever, and we can show you how to get in front of people. So you definitely feel like you're targeting your ideal client then.
I do. And I think with the descriptions, you put your location, you put where you are. And so it's not just, everybody in the whole world, it's like, okay, well, you need to put exactly where you want to work and where you want to find them. Um, and I think with the explanation of what to say per pin, I think that really targets you to find exactly who you want to find your pin with even describing what you're posting or what you're pinning. And I do, and I think, it just anything in business, you're gonna learn how to do it better. You're gonna learn, you're going to hone in on your skills. You're gonna have more content that you want to have as time goes on. So I think it's just kind of a progression as well.
I hope this episode is blowing your mind so far. For years, I hated Pinterest, and I held a grudge for the clients it stole from me when it first came out on the scene. But believe me when I say, Pinterest has earned my forgiveness. Today, I do almost all of my marketing through Pinterest, and I get inquiries from big budget, ideal clients every single week. If you want to start using Pinterest to get leads and money in the bank, you need the power of pinning. Check it out now at thepowerofpinning.com. We made the power of pinning really simple. That was really important to me. I was like, I don't want anyone to go through this and feel like after 5 minutes they've wasted their money and they want to throw in the towel. Like, I want this to be really doable. And so, did you appreciate the simplicity of the course? Like, what did you like about the format of it?
Well, I like how it just focused in on one task at a time. So it wasn't just this broad thing and you're just go, go, go. It's like there was, points. And I think you just start from the beginning and you move slowly on. And I love that if you needed a minute to like grasp a concept, or, you had to step away, you could always go back and keep, and then go back to it. And I love that you can save it. So, it's not like you take it and it's gone. You can actually go back and maybe if something didn't register, you can go back and re-listen to it and you're like, okay, that makes sense. So I love that about it. It was very easy to listen to go through. So yeah, that's what I loved. I loved how it was sectioned off so you could focus on one bit at a time. There's still things I want to learn. Like I still haven't done the carousel pin. I want to learn how to do that. So there's still things I have yet to learn, but I know that I have my training there to go back to and utilize.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that I love so much about the power pinning is Catherine, who is my Pinterest manager. I hired her to be in that chat box because she can answer those questions better than I ever could. So it doesn't matter if you bought this program today, 2 years ago, whenever. If you've got a question, you go in that program and you ask it, and within 24 hours, Catherine responds.
Oh, Jessica, that's so true. She does. And that was so amazing that you were like, "Wait a second." And I did. I probably bugged her a bit in the beginning. I'm like, "Wait, what is that?" But she got back to you really quick, and that was really great. Yeah, so there's an extra resource to get anything you had a question on. I love that.
Yeah, to pay that one-time fee, or if you do that 12-month payment plan or whatever, it is worth it just to have access to her, in my opinion.
Absolutely, for sure.
I mean, it's incredible. So I don't know, I just love that aspect too, and I don't know of any other program who offers something like that, so I do love it. So if someone's on the fence about buying The Power of Pinning, and, it is a time where money is scarce,
Mhm.
what would you say to them about this program?
I would say it's an investment to yourself, and I think that's what you've taught us. I think sometimes, when you're worried about the money, or you're just not sure and I've circled back on this whole thought, and it is worth it because these things are actually going to get you to where you're going. Yeah, and I think it's so much more than we think, and I think learning it's exciting because you're like, oh, it just makes sense. And I think in our industries, and so many industries and businesses, it's really where we need to be because it's just in front of this platform is ginormous. And and it's not really hard when you learn. It's really not that overwhelming or hard. I think it's just like anything, you just need to practice it and, start from the beginning and do it right. And I think it's just amazing. So I definitely would say it's definitely worth it. And it's really exciting.
Has it made you realize the importance of your website?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. When I started realizing people were really going to it, I'm like, okay, well, is this looking that great? And so I looked back to my website and it was okay, but I think when you're starting, you are, thinking about a million other things that you think you need to be doing. And so you realize, and I think it kind of prepares you to do something else. So it's like, okay, I really need to get my website looking good, where it's accessible and it's easy for them to find you and contact you and all these things. So yeah, no, it definitely did. It made me take a look at things a little bit deeper and set up differently.
Yeah. Oh, good, good, good. Because I feel like that's something else that I'm always screaming. I'm like, "Your website's more important than Instagram."
I know. I learned that too. I'm like, okay, Instagram's great, but maybe not as much as I had originally thought. But
Right,
yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Okay, so this is our last question. It's my favorite question. So if you had Oprah's money, so billions of dollars, and you had to spend it on yourself, something totally selfish, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. I know it's so hard for me to do that because I have 2 kids, so I always wanna include them. Um, Honestly, it would just be traveling, just being able to go to amazing hotels all over the world with my babies. That would just be just to go and just be like, "Okay, we're gonna book this," and go just show them the world and kind of like, unlimited access to going to different places would be my kind of like yeah, that would be what I'd want.
That'd be so good. I would oh my gosh, I wanna do that too. There's nothing better than a good hotel. I mean,
Right? Oh,
oh, it's
all day
just so
long.
nice.
I'd be like, "Let's go. Let's go have fun."
It's so nice. My best friend and I, we were just talking the other day, and she lives in Dallas, and I was like, "Can we just go for 2 days, like, to this really nice hotel in Dallas and just stay there. Like, literally just
Let's
sit in the
go.
hotel, not go anywhere.
Just
And
talk
he was
and
like,
yeah.
"Let's do it." And so, anyway, I think we might soon, but it's just so there's nothing better. So, yes, that is so good. I would love to do that too. That's a good answer. Hey, well, Carrie, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your experience. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, you could just go to littleblackbarnco.com and you will find me there on the web, and then Little Black Barn Co. on Instagram, and there you'll find me.
I love it. That is so good. Well, thank you so, so much. I just appreciate you more than I can
Aw,
express. So
thank you, Jessica.
you're so welcome. Carrie, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Let's all just appreciate that Carrie wanted to do floral design, made it happen, and is now her own boss, running her own business and taking care of her 2 young children at the same time. The Power of Pinning is open for enrollment right now. And like we said on the podcast, you've got to use this time to invest in yourself and the future of your business. To quote Carrie, this course is going to get you where you're going. I love hearing stories like Carrie's because she's really done the work and she's seeing it pay off. If you want a free training about the power of pinning, you can go to zimmermanpodcast.com/Pinterest training. If you're like, forget that, I don't even need the training, I know this is what I need, then go to zimmermanpodcast.com/Pinterest. I'll see you back here next week on Zimmerman Podcast.
If you loved what you heard today, even if you liked it a lot, you should subscribe and leave a review. We'll see you back here next time in the Zimmerman Podcast.